Okay, we should continue our course, okay? So as you know that this makeup course, the majority we will deal with the population-based model. And yeah, okay. But before that, let me turn on the air conditioner, okay? It is... Huh. So for the people who sit in rear row, do you guys need air conditioner? Anyway, I just assume that you need it. Okay. So last week I introduced the population-based model, and I say that this model, the population-based model, is specifically great for pharmaceutical crystallization. And but at that time, I just show you some funny equations or some complicated equations. I didn't have the chance to explain each term in the equation. So today, I will use the video to introduce the population-based model. The idea to use the video is, let me say in this way, okay? So, for many years, I teach the population-based model in the makeup course class, but I feel that the video is much more lament. Just as he said, he tried to introduce in a friendly way, which I cannot do in that way. Because I learned from Renki, so I intend to jump into equation, not like his way. So let's take a look at this video, okay?
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Joseph. So in this particular video here, I'm going to give you an overview of what population balance is. Let's jump straight into this video. So in real life, many quantities are being distributed.
Oh yeah, there's also, I will upload the address of the video probably next week. So if you want to watch the video yourself at home, you are able to do that. Okay.
Example, they will be distributed in size. If you look at a bunch of particles here, right, and if you actually sample this particle here, right, if you sample this particle here and you actually go and count the number of particles for a particular size of the particle, you'll be able to actually build a distribution curve that looks probably like this. So let's just call this distribution the number density, right? Let's just call this the number density. So let's say initially the particle distribution or the particle number density looks like this. Okay, so if you put these particles under processing, for example, if you mill it or grind it, so how does this distribution or the number density evolve with time, right? How does it change with time? So this is the question that is very important that we are going to try to answer by this particular technique called population balance modeling. So when you subject this bunch of particles under milling or grinding operation, or say for example, if these particles are polymers that is subjected to enzymatic hydrolysis, right? How does their distribution evolve with time? So for example, they can evolve in such manner. This is at time 0 and this is at time 1. Okay, and then after some time, they can evolve to another distribution. So when we try to track the temporal evolution or the transient of this number density, what are the techniques that we can use to model this behavior, right? So because in many applications in real life, the distribution matters, right? For example, in milling, it's going to be very important to control the size distribution of the particle, or maybe in pharmaceutical processes where you are trying to produce some drug crystals, right? So
okay, so before he continue processing the introduce of population-based model, let me explain something to you. Otherwise, you may feel confusing. Okay. You may feel confused. Sorry. So the idea here is, the first thing is you have to understand the meaning of the number density, and I explained that in the previous class that the number density is very similar to the probability density function, and the only difference is number density is the y-axis here is number. It's not the probability. And if you normalize the number density, which means that you make the integration of the whole curve, for example, distribution in this way, you integration this distribution, and then make this integration, this integration you get as a denominator, and then everything divided by that, then you normalize your number density. You guys get the idea, right? So, how about let me repeat in Chinese? Okay, it's a very important concept here. So以这个 number density 它是一个跟几率密度函数很像的东西哦。那它要得到几率密度函数的方法非常简单，你把你原本有的分布，因为这是3个不一样的分布啊，我们就随便抓一个，就反正你不要看别人，就假设是这个绿的哈。你把这个分布做积分哦，做积分以后，你把所有的这个 number density 都除以这个积出来的值，那这个时候就会变几率密度函数了。那因为你如果除这个值，那你再积分，它就等于1哦，对吧？那就是几率密度函数。Okay, let me change back to English. So if you divide by the integration of this distribution, then the new distribution, which I say that will be the probability density function, and because in the new distribution, when you do the integral again, you get 1, right? So you get a probability. So the only difference between the number density and the probability density function is you need to normalize this number density in order to get a probability density function. Okay, this is the first thing I want to explain here, and second thing I want to explain here is because in our previous slides, we try to deal with a much more complicated situation. So we want to describe the morphology of the crystal. Nevertheless, if you reduce the difficulty of the problem, you may think about that. For example, you don't want to describe the morphology of the crystal, but instead you want to know the size of the crystal, and you just assume that every crystal has the same morphology. I know it is not true in practice, but just assume in that way, okay? If that's the case, then the only thing you care about should be the dimension, right? So that's the case he explained here. He only cared about the dimension. For example, he assumed that this particle, let's say, weigh like the sugar, and if you don't to crystallize the sugar, and you don't care about the morphology, right? Who cares about the sugar's morphology? You just care about the size, and in that case, you just use one size. For example, you use the radical, and you get a sapphire, and as long as your sapphire can cover the whole crystal, then you just let me say in this way. So you may assign the minima radical that sapphire can cover the whole crystal. Okay, then you reduce the three-dimensional problem to a one-dimensional problem. You are able to describe all the particles with just one parameter, one variable, the radius. And if you do it that way, you get your radius here, and then you can do some statistic and get a number density. All right? So, by the way, let me ask one question. How many of you know the probability density function? I'm worried about that. I assume that all people know how to read this figure, but it's not true. So how many of you know that? Raise your hand. Come on. Okay. If not, let me do some explanation in that. Okay. So the probability density function, the way to read that is if it's a discrete thing. If it is a discrete thing, then you just use a die. Okay. Every time you use a die, and you have the die, so you know the points of the points of die. And this is your number density F. And you roll a die. And if you get 1 point, you just plus 1. So, and then you roll again. And if this time you get 2, then you put 2, 1. So you roll twice. Okay, let me roll in. So for example, you get a 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 2. Okay. If that's the case, then you put a 1, and then 2, and then 3 one time, and 4 one time, right? Oh yeah, sorry. Here is a 1. So 1 twice, and 2 twice. So your probability, your number density function for this discrete one is actually in this way. But we cannot connect them because it's a discrete function. So you get 1 is 2, 2 is 2, and 3 is 1. And 4 is 1. All right? It just do the accumulation of your results. And for continued process, you can just think about it like this way. So, but you still, you need an interval in reality, right? In reality, you cannot. When you try to measure that, you still need an interval. So, but that's okay. You can make that interval small enough in reality. But in mathematics, it is okay. It can be a continuous function. Okay. But anyway, at least you know the idea of the number density. All right. Let's continue the course.
Size distribution of the crystals that you produce are very important. So how do we actually control them to the product specification that we want? So in this regard, modeling can help us. And more specifically, we can use population balance modeling to model the so-called distribution or the number density with time. Okay? So this example here, we are talking about the dependence of number density with just size. So this is a one-dimensional population balance problem. So there could be other cases or other examples whereby you do not only talk about a one-dimensional example, but you could be talking about examples in which 2 or more dimensions are being involved. Okay? For example, if you look at a cellulose nanocrystal here, right? This is a cellulose nanocrystal, an example of a picture of a cellulose nanocrystal, right? When you put in a bunch of biomass subject to enzymatic hydrolysis or acid attack, and then you remove all the amorphous region, and eventually you get this crystal form of cellulose. And this crystal form of cellulose is very, very useful, and the main thing that determines the application or the property of the cellulose nanocrystal is the dimension, right? So their dimension, basically, you can approximate them by saying that they can be characterized by, say, maybe their width and their length. So in this particular example, then there will be two dimensions that you are concerned about, right? You want to specifically control the length and the width, because these two will contribute to the aspect ratio of the cellulose nanocrystal. So in this sort of example, then you'll be talking about two dimensions. So if it's in two dimensions, then the number density with respect to these two dimension or property of the particle can look something like this, right? So it will become a surface curve here of the number density, where it's dependent on two property here, right?
So here,
okay. So the length and the width, perhaps, right? So
many people make mistake in this figure. So let me explain this, okay? I mentioned that for this is a discrete situation, but the previous figure, which he get for the one dimension, that's definitely a continual process, okay, a continual variable. Nevertheless, this figure, you can imagine that the real number density, the real one, it's a continual process, okay? It's a continual variable, because this size, it's not discrete size, right? It can grow gradually, so it's a continual variable. Nevertheless, when he tried to plot this figure, as you can see, he mashed it, right? You have a mash. So actually, this one is trying to describe the number density in this mash only. In this mash. So this is actually when he tried to plot this figure, he treated the whole thing as a discrete thing. So the particle who between this size will be counted and then plot here. All right? So that's the idea. Okay. So in other words, if you try to, and also here he made a mistake. This looks like not a number density, because your number usually not in this way. It looks like a probability density function, right? How can you have a 0.02 number? That should be a probability density function. Okay.
It's another example of situations whereby the distribution of a particle is important. Now, I'm referring loosely to particles, right? But in fact, it can be anything, right? Anything that has a distribution. And when the distribution is very important, then this particular aspect is something that we should consider when we attempt to model them. When it's important for us to model the distribution, and this is the focus of this particular video. So there are many other examples with a common theme of being distributed. For example, when we talk about polymerization, right? In polymerization, you talk about the chain length distribution, right? If you have a linear polymer, and the polymer will have varying or different chain length. This is a polymer with 6 monomers being joined together, and then you might have polymers with 3 monomers being joined together. So when you subject these polymers under certain action, right? For example, if you use an enzyme to hydrolyze them, or you use an acid to break them, or even when you have polymers that join together to form a larger polymer, right? Instead of being broken down into small pieces, they can combine to form larger pieces. Then this is also possible, right? In polymerization, the common theme of being distributed exists. And also in the case of crystallization, as we have mentioned just now, in the production of drug crystals in the pharmaceutical area, then the size and shape of the crystal is very important, because when you have a bunch of crystals that are being produced, right, not every crystal in your broth is going to have the same shape and size. So in that particular scenario, then the distribution matters, right? How many within that crystal, within the broth, contains the size and shape of crystal that you want, right? Can we calculate some properties of that distribution? For example, the average size or the average shape, right? Whether it's number weighted, whether it's a weight based type of average, we can calculate. Once we have the distribution, we will be able to calculate all the different properties of the particle. Okay, and say in milling, when you have a particle and you want to grind them, this also has a common theme of being distributed. And not only for particles, right? Sometimes when you talk about cell, right? When you have a bunch of cell, those cells will have different age, right? So every cell would experience a different phase of growth, right? This cell may be older than the other cell. So in this case, the age can be a property that is being distributed. So then population balance can also be used to model biological cells, okay? And many more, and there are many more examples. So a good review, and a very excellent review that gives an idea of the applications of population balance, can be found in Ramakrishna and Singh 2014. Okay, so most of the
explain something, okay?
In Ramakrishna and Singh 2000.
Yeah, he read Ramakrishna and Singh. So you guys may I know that two authors, okay, in person. So Ramakrishna is my advisor, and Singh is at that time is a postdoc of my advisor, and of course he now is a professor, and so he's a very friendly people. Okay, so if just as he said that if you have some idea, if you want to get some idea of application, you may take a look at their work. Okay. And also, I will probably, if I don't have time to do that, probably next week I will briefly introduce or say something about the population balance model on the cellular model. Okay.
So most of the people might already be familiar with the equations that conserve momentum, say for example the Navier-Stokes equation, very famous equation, or the energy equation being shown here. Or we are also familiar, if we are in mechanical engineering or chemical engineering, we are also familiar with the continuity equation, and chemical engineers, especially the students who study transport phenomena, they will be familiar with the species advection diffusion equation. So these are equations that conserve a particular aspect of a system, right? It's either momentum, energy, mass, or species. So in all the examples just now that we talk about, when the particles are undergoing some form of transformation, for example, like milling, grinding, enzymatic hydrolysis, or aggregation, agglomeration, what would be the equation that can conserve the number of particles in that particular system, right? Because all these transport equations that we are seeing here conserve some property, right? For example, they conserve momentum, they conserve energy, they conserve the total mass, and they conserve the mass of the species. So in those examples just now that we spoke about, we need to conserve the number. Say for example, we have a particle here, a big particle, or we call it a parent particle, and it breaks into two smaller daughter particles. The number of particles in this case must be conserved, right? One particle split into two particles. You take the two smaller particles and you sum them back up, the property must be equivalent to the parent particle. Conversely, or on the other hand, you can have two smaller particles, right? that joins together and form one larger particle here in the case of agglomeration. Well, in this case, 2 becomes 1, and there must be some property that is being conserved between the two cases, right? So in this case, we speak about the conservation of number, and this is what population balance equation is all about, right? It's basically a transport equation, a governing equation that tries to conserve the number of the quantity that is being studied, right? The number of the particle. Okay, so the conservation of number is basically represented by the general population balance equation, which is shown here. Okay, so in this particular equation here, n is the number density. All right, x is the internal coordinate. So internal coordinate here is just a term that represents the coordinate that you choose to represent your particle. For example, the size, right? And in the case of, say, polymer, perhaps the degree of polymerization. So this is an example of the internal coordinate that is being chosen. Spatial coordinate is represented by r. Spatial coordinate means in your physical system, you have, say, for example, your x, y, and z, right? In a physical three-dimensional space. That's your spatial coordinate system. And this h here in the equation, right, this term here is the source and the sink term. I'll explain in a while what this means. But basically, if we look at this population balance equation here, the first term tells you how the number density evolves with time. So if you have a particle size distribution, how this distribution actually evolves with time is being described by the first term, the partial derivative of the number density here. So the second term in the population balance equation here tells us how the number density evolves with the internal coordinate space, right? It might be a little bit difficult to understand what this means here, but I'm trying my best to explain it as simply as possible, as layman as possible. Say, for example, if you imagine that your crystal, right, in your broth, the crystal of a particular size can actually grow with time, right? So if the crystal of a particular size can actually grow with time, then there is a movement through the size dimension. So the convective term through the internal coordinate space is represented by the second term here. And then the third term here simply just tells us how the number density is going to evolve with the physical space. If you just imagine, if you have a tank here, right, and let's just say that it's not a well-mixed system. So if it's not a well-mixed system, you put a bunch of particles into the system, okay, and you sample randomly at different points in this particular tank here, you are not going to get the same distribution. Now, there will be spatial variation of the number density under the case where the system in the tank is not well mixed. This term here is going to tell us how the number density evolves with space. Alright, the last term here, as I mentioned just now, this is the source or the sink term. So this term here tells us how the system attempts to conserve the number when there is a birth or death processes happening in the system. For example, if your particles are being broken, one big particle breaks into two smaller particles, then there's going to be breakage. So this breakage process will be included in this H term here. On the other hand, if you have two smaller particles joining together or aggregating or agglomerating together to form one big particle, then this is also considered by this term H here. Okay, so that's basically the population balance equation. So essentially, by solving this population balance equation here and choosing the internal coordinate carefully, that means we define what x is, whether x is the size or whether x is the degree of polymerization, then we will be able to obtain the change in the number density or the distribution with time. So an example is something that is represented in this figure here, how the number density actually changes with time. If we solve this population balance equation, we will be able to model this. So this is an overview video, so I'm not going to go particularly deep, or I'm not going to explain in more detail of what each term can expand to mean. But if you find this video helpful and you find this video useful to help your understanding of a population balance equation, be sure to hit like and subscribe and comment down below whether this has helped you in your study of population balances. So if you
Okay, so let's just put it aside, okay? And we can continue today's course. I will explain I cannot say more detail, okay? I cannot say I will say the details of the equation, but his view of the equation is definitely correct. But I will give you some other information about this equation next week and explain why they need to separate two terms. One is here and the other is here. All right? Okay. So let's go back to the full mechanics. First of all, I want you guys to know that I have uploaded all the PowerPoint files and also the course content in the Taipei Tech High School Plus. Okay, and so you guys can go there and download as you wish. And if you encounter some problems, you can let me know, or you can ask your classmate, and if they don't encounter any problem, you are the only one encounter the problem, maybe you should let school know the situation, because that's not the situation I can help. Okay, so let me say it again. So if you try to download something from Taipei Tech High School, and then you cannot do that, please first go to your labmate and see if they can do it, if they are also enrolled in this class. And if they can do it and you cannot do it, then ask the school. If all of you cannot do it, ask me, okay? All right? All right. Probably let me repeat in Chinese, okay? 所以那个学校那个系统有时候出一点问题哦。如果你们去那个系统上，你发现你没有办法下载，那你看一下你隔壁的同学能不能下载上课的讲义哦。如果他可以下载，就是那个北科大学员哦，如果他可以下载，那应该是你的账号有问题啊。那找学校，那找我没有用，因为我不会解决。但如果你发现你们大家都不能下载，写个 email 给我，那应该就是我的问题了，因为应该不至于每个人都不能下载，好不好 ？OK。So today we want to deal with the share balance. And before that, we want to derive the equation of derive the equation of motion. And because we have an idea that if we do that, derive the equation of motion first, and then do a shear balance, we may feel that the shear balance is kind of easy. So let's first deal with the equation of motion. Also, equation of motion itself is easy, right? So, and that makes everything easy. But if we first deal with the shear balance, you may feel it's difficult. And so let's do it in the first way. Let's first have the equation of motion, and then we deal with the shear balance, okay? we need this figure. And if you have textbook, it's in BSL chapter 3, figure 3.2-1, okay, in page 79. And if you don't have a textbook, it's totally fine, all right? So we need this figure, and we will do the force balance. And after we do the force balance, we will get an equation of continuity. And from that equation, you get a Navier-Stokes equation, okay? But today, I just want to go to the equation of continuity. And probably at the end of the semester, we have the skill to calculate the vector and the tensor. Then we can easily derive the Navier-Stokes equation from equation of continuity, equation of motion, okay? you feel it's both? 2, 4, 7, 8. 8 people. And how many of you feel none of them? None of them? No? Okay. I was shocked to get this result, but but I get nearly this. I shouldn't say nearly this. I get similar result from the other course. So many people feel like they can do the balance on concentration, and that's kind of the, how do I say that? It's because you have the impression to do a balance on the concentration. You guys from the background of chemical engineering or chemistry, so you know the reaction engineer, and in reaction engineer you do a balance on, you feel you do a balance on concentration, but in reality you never did that. You always do a balance on mass only, not on the concentration. Why? First thing is, let's think about this very important question. Why we can do the balance? Okay, that's a question we should face, right? When we try to do the balance on something, why we can do that? Why? Anyone want to answer this? Why we can do a balance? We should base on something, right? So we can write down that equation and then say, this one should equal to that. But why? Yeah, you are right. So let me give you the. So the reason for what happened? Oh, okay, I'm scared. The reason that we can do the balance is because the mass conservation. Okay, so we can do a balance because mass is there, and nevertheless, if you apply this idea to the concentration, then you will feel there's no one say that concentration conservation, right? No one say that. So you cannot do that in concentration. You cannot do it in that way. For example, I give you a very easy situation, okay? So as you know that my research is about biology. So I usually model the behavior of a cell. So here, let's assume that there's a protein in this cell, okay? A protein in this cell. So you have one protein, and the volume of the cell is V, and the volume of the cell is V, 1V. So the concentration should be P divided by V, or probably just 1, okay? Don't put P. Okay, 1 divided by P. All right. Think about that. Even in this situation, if the whole thing for this cell, there's no reaction, no reaction happen to this P, but the cell grow up, and P is still here. At this time, the P is there, 1P. That's 1P. But V can be 2V, right? Because the cell grow up. Okay, 2V. Then your concentration become 1 divided by 2V, right? So it's so even you don't have any reactions, your concentration changed. It's not conserved. So don't try to do the balance on concentration, okay? The way you did that in reaction engineer is because you know that the V is fixed. Because you do this way actually. You actually do it this way. You try to do the balance on the mass, not on the concentration. But this one, it become and if the volume is is fixed, you get this term equal to 0, right? So you only have this term. And that give you the impression that you are doing the balance on concentration, but you actually doing the balance on mass, not on the concentration. Right? It's very important. And you probably don't feel how let me say it this way. You probably don't feel that what kind of damage this kind of mistake did on the scientific research. So at the first time people try to model a cell, they do a balance on concentration. And then when cell grows up, the concentration actually go down, but they didn't know that. And that kind of situation lasted for about 10 years. No one figured out. And it caused a lot of problems that 10 years. And finally, a guy called Arne Friedrichsen, which is the advisor, my advisor's advisor, okay. He proposed that all of them made a mistake here. They don't consider about the growth of the cell. And after that, if you try to model a cell, you get a dilution term to describe this growth. So the concentration will go down when cell grow, and I will describe by the dilution term. So it's kind of interesting that this kind of things bother the whole. The whole scientist, the whole community of scientists for about 10 years. That's kind of interesting, actually. All right. So after we have this basic idea that we know the mass conservation and energy conservation, so we know that we can only do balance on some qualities that's conserved. Okay. Then we can come back here. So here, we don't do the balance on the phi, but we do a balance on the force. So first thing is we need to get the force from this phi, and then we do a balance on force, and then we do the force balance. Okay. So to do that, it's very easy, right? Because we know phi, it has the same unit as pressure. As long as we multiply this phi with the area, the proper area, we should be get the force. And then we use that force to do a balance for this whole thing. Okay, so let's do it. Any question about this part? If not, I'll erase that. No question. Okay, good. who don't want to take notes or you finish that, maybe you can think about where this come from, okay? Where this negative side come from, okay? And if it's too easy to you, you just, that's easy, I can get a negative side. You may also think about how to write this whole thing. I mean, these three equations in one equation, okay? So every year that nearly every year, our department want to recruit new faculties, and it's very difficult right now. You guys probably didn't know that. Not only us, even in the school in National Taiwan University or National Taiwan University of Science and Technology, they didn't get enough candidate. That thing also happened to us. But this year, fortunately, we get a lot of good candidates. It's a good thing. For so many years, it's very difficult to get enough amount of candidates. Which I didn't say that the new faculty is bad. Okay, don't interpret it in that way. It's not, but they are good. They are good. They are good. What I want to say is usually we need, for example, we need 8 candidates for interview, and then we can choose 1 or 2 new faculties. But nowadays it's very difficult to get 8 candidates. Because we only get probably 20 applicants, and in that 20, you need to choose 8. It's very difficult, actually. Some people, they are definitely not suitable to teach because their background is not chemical engineer, and they have some background that we actually don't know what's that, like food process or something like that. I don't know what kind of, how that kind of background can teach in unit operation or in fluid mechanics. Okay, so it's kind of difficult for us to choose the candidate, and also the Ministry of Education, they don't want those kind of people to come to the chemical engineering. So they set some barrier there. For example, they ask those people should be strongly related to the name of your department. If the major is not strongly related to the name of your department, then they have right to deny those new faculties, even those people pass all the process in school. So now this is very difficult. Oh, okay, what I want to say is if you are interested in the faculty position, probably it's the best time that it's the best time ever. So you may just study abroad, and then it's very likely you can get a position after you get your PhD degree. Okay. All right. Let's come back here. First thing I want to ask is, do you guys know the meaning of this thing? after this, and then you have like this. So, do you guys know that? Let me ask again. So here you see the 5z's here, and then it has this one, and then I put a z, right? And here you write the 5z as z plus delta z. So is this notation okay for you? Or okay means you know the meaning of that. So if you don't know the meaning, let me know. No, come on. Let me ask it the other way. If you know the meaning, let me know. Okay, first thing, let me explain this. You guys know logic, right? In logic, you either yes or no. There's nothing in between. So let me ask you again. That's the only thing I get when I was an undergrad student. I enrolled in a class of logic, and I spent whole semester. I did nothing actually. The only thing I learned is in logic there's yes or no. There's nothing in between. So let me ask this question again. How many of you feel you are familiar with this notation? How many of you are not familiar with this notation? So no one respond to it. So what you guys want? You want more time to get your memory back or something? Oh yeah, probably it's a language barrier. Okay, let me repeat in Chinese. 所以现在问的问题很简单哦，就是说你到底熟不熟悉这个符号？就是它 5gs 你当然知道，就是我们讲过，但它后面画了一条线以后放一个字，又画一条线放自己加六大 g， 你知道这个符号举一下手好不好？哦 ，OK，That's good。那你不知道举一下手好不好 ？OK，Thank you。So it's language barrier, guys. All right. I kind of feel happy right now. Okay, for about I think nearly 5 years, I was puzzled in this situation. Every time I ask a question, no matter I ask the positive or the negative, no one answer me. And I feel so strange why that would be the response of the students. And today, thank you. Tell me that it's a language barrier. All right. So I come back here and let me explain this because I saw some people don't know it. So this notation, it indicates the position. The real physical position in this diagram. So in other words, if you put a 5z as here, and you put z here, means that your 5z, probably I use 5z. Your 5z is actually a function of r, right? No, not r. Don't put r here. The function of t and y, z, right? And if we say in this way, it means that it's at the position of you put z here. And if you put here, you mean that you put z plus delta z here. All right? Kind of easy, okay? Okay. Hopefully it's clear. Now a second. This one is what you put in this position only, not others, only this one. So if we indicate z, means you put z here. If you indicate z plus z, means that you put z plus z at this position. All right? Okay. Good. Okay, then the first thing is we try to do a balance. And If you want to do a balance of the force, you know that the force has direction, right? Because it's a vector, it has direction. To simplify the process, we choose first only the x direction. So we see. Okay. So we do the force balance in x direction at this whole thing till here. Okay. We only do the force balance in x direction. And if we do the force balance in x direction, we need to pick up the phi that will give us the force in x direction, right? Because we do the force balance in x direction. The only thing related to that is the phi give us the force in x direction, right? Because if the phi give us the force in y or in z direction, we don't care. We do the balance on x direction, and that gives us the chance to get all the phi with the second index as x, right? Because the second index indicates the force direction. So we actually have 3 phi to do a balance. There are phi zx, phi xx, and phi yx. All right? So that's why we choose these 3 phi. You guys have memory about phi, right? We have, here. We have phi in this way, right? So phi should have 9 components. Should have 9 components, just as our tau. And why we choose only 3 of them? Because only 3 of them will give us the force in x direction. So we choose only 3 of them that will only give us the force in x direction. Okay. All right. And after we choose that, we need to make them. I shouldn't say make them. We need to get a force from those phi. And to do that, we need to multiply the proper area. Let's use this as an example. If it's phi zx, it means this phi zx is act on this area, right? On this area. So this area should be the delta x multiplied by delta y. So your phi zx should multiply by delta x, delta y, and you get a force in x direction. Alright? Similarly, you do the same thing, you get this phi ys. Phi ys is this way, it's so difficult to see. Probably let's do the phi xx, okay? Phi xx is act on the surface, this gray surface. So it should be the delta y, delta z, and multiplied by the phi xx, and get a force in x direction. So now you have these 3 forces. And we know that these 3 forces describe the force in a fluid. It includes the momentum from the force, actually the force. So this is the force from the convection and also the force from molecular stress. Okay? So you get this 3. And also you need to consider the force from gravity. But know that you only do the balance on x direction. So you only care about the force on the gravity force in x direction. Okay? And then this is we can treat this as mv, right? This is mv. Okay? mv. Right. So now you'll get a force balance. So this is DMV-DT, okay, and force bands. All right, okay. Once you get that, then you want to get rid of your delta x, delta y, delta z. This is the common strategy, okay? So no matter what kind of problem, it's not only in fluid mechanics. Even you want to do a balance on the reaction engineer or something, you take a control value. Okay, you take control value, and then in this control value, actually you take delta x, delta y, or delta z anyway. And after you do a balance, you divide the delta x, delta y, and delta z. It depends on which one you use. If you use all of them, then you divide all of them, and then you let delta x, delta y, delta z approach 0. This step, so this one. The purpose of this step is to give you the derivative. So you want a derivative, so you use this step to get a derivative. And after you apply that, then we can easily see that for this, you cancel out this one, right? Because delta x, delta y, delta z is a fixed value. So you just cancel it out. And y is a fixed value. You assume that you pick up delta x, delta y, delta z yourself. So you assume that it's a fixed value. So they are fixed value. And so you have a partial derivative for low Vx, partial derivative for low Vs. And here it's easy. You just cancel out it. You get low Gs here. For this 3, it's also easy, right? For this one, this thing divided by, so let's write it down. This thing should give you a minus. Right? By definition of differentiation, this should give you this. Hopefully clear. Let me wait for a few minutes. Actually, we reached the time for break. So let's have a break, and we'll come back at 9:10. particles. So we have the control value in this way, and then we use this process or this strategy, or probably I should say this approaching, we are able to create the derivative. So we have the derivative here. As you can see, the negative side is actually come from in the definition of the differentiation. You should have this x plus delta x, this term, minus this one. And since you do in the opposite way, so you get negative side here. Hopefully it's clear. Let me say again. In the definition of the differentiation, you actually have the phi xx x plus delta x minus phi xx x, right? And that is the differentiation, the derivative of phi xx. But since here you have x and minus the x plus delta x, so you have the negative side here. And that's why we have negative side here. Okay? And similarly, you can do that for the phi ys, phi zs, and you get this one. Yeah, hopefully it's clear to you guys. And once you get this one, you can do a balance on the force in y direction. And if you do that, you will similar to those process, you will get this one is for the y direction, and then this one is for the z direction. Is that clear to you guys? Clear. So any question about this? No question? Okay. Then anyone want to try to write down an equation with vector that can describe these three equations? So let me ask the question again, okay? So anyone try to write down the equation in vector form? So you can use one equation in vector form to describe all these three equations. Anyone want to try that? How about I wait for 2 to 3 minutes, see if anyone want to try it. You guys are good. Thank you. You can erase anything above, okay? Yeah, you can erase anything you want. Yeah, that's why we need to erase that. Okay, let's erase that. So we can try somewhere you want. Okay, right anywhere you want. All right. Do you feel there's something you forget to write? See. Let me say in this way. You see, this is a vector, right?
Yeah.
And this is a second order tensor, right? And this is stale.
Yeah.
So you want a vector instead of a third order of tensor. So you probably put something there. But even you didn't get that, you will still get the bonus. Okay, all right. It's okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate his help. So you guys are so good. In previous 2, probably 3 years, every time I ask a question, no one answers me. You guys are real good. You answer the question and very close to the answer. So he tried to rewrite this in a vector form, and what he did is very close. It's nearly answer. So here we see that you have this 3, right? This 3. So you write that in a vector form, so you get a v. This is the vector v. So this v should be vs, vy, and vz. All right. And also you write here the log. So also correct. The only thing that you may feel a little confused is we are supposed to have this phi, so this thing here, and also this thing and this. So it should be like a vector. Nevertheless, you know that phi is this phi is a tensor, right? A tensor. And this multiple tensor, which we just learned in previous class, if you do a del multiplied by v, you get a second order tensor, right? So v has 3 components, like this one. But if you do it this way, you get 9 components. However, we need 3 components only here. So anyone want to try that? How to fix it? Or you can think about how to get this. The easy way is you treat the phi. You can the phi like what the manifold treat that. So the manifold treat that if you have this start or something. Manifold use start, okay? So I use start, okay? So use if you have a start and x, right? That's the notation of manifold, okay? Manifold use start. It means everything. And this is actually a vector, right? So you have star x, it's a vector. And if you treat this as a vector, how you get this one? And you yourself can answer that. You will get the other bonus points. Okay. So, oh yeah. Yeah, you are right. Thank you very much. So it should be dot product. So you do a dot product, just like you do a divergent V, then you get this one. Hopefully that's clear to you guys. Your face looks not clear. So how about doing this way? I help you to have a better understanding about this. The way to do that is I write down the del and also this phi, and then you will get an idea. Okay, so let me do it. wait for other people finish your notes. And if you don't want to write notes, you can do that yourself to see what is del and dot phi. Okay, do that yourself. And then we will get exactly the same as all those things. All right? Okay, so after this, we are very close to the answer. We can just put a phi there, and then we treat this one thing as an equation of motion, or you want to put a phi. In this way, which means that you put a low p, low tau, and low vv into the phi, and then you try to see what happened. I was stuck, okay? I'm stuck, sorry. I'm stuck because I don't remember how to address this without the index notation. So how can I do this with no index notation? Okay, anyway, let's try to do it. So we have this. Oh, yeah. I need to explain this. So you get this one, right? So your divergent is actually, okay, divergent phi, okay, fine. And then you actually this multiplied by this one, and you get a first row, right? You see this one multiplied by this one, you get first row. And then this one multiplied by the second one, you get a second row. And this one multiplied by the third one, you get a third row. And so you actually can use this one to describe this whole thing. All right? Clear. Any question about this? If not, we will try to put our phi back. I mean, put a pi plus low VV back here. Think about that. The phi, I know no phi is correct. The phi is something, but we are more interested in velocity, right? Shear stress, all those kind of things. So we want to put back the shear stress, velocity, pressure into the equation. Okay? So we want to put back this phi into the equation. All right. So if you don't have any question, then let's try to put a phi back. Any question about this whole thing? Anything you want to ask? No? Okay, that's good. Then let's put this phi back. this. Okay. If we want to put a 5 here, okay, we want to put a 5 here. The best way is we use the index notation told. We use the index notation, which will be which will be taught in this semester. But we don't have that. Okay, that's the best way. We use the index notation to do that. And since we don't have that, we can easily deal with this one and this one. Why? Because they are similar to phi, right? They are second order tensor, so you just put that there, and everything is done. The difficulty is the difficulty remained in this P, because you guys are not familiar with delta, and you probably feel strange why delta become a second order tensor, but it is a second order tensor. Okay, so that's first. Write down these two terms and keep this term. Okay, keep this term, and we put these 3 all into here, and we write down an equation with all these 3, and then we can next we can deal with the delta. All right. Okay, let's do it this way. So 5 is here. Anyway, let me erase this. Erase this. Okay, erase this. All right. this notation. So I write this way, and I was, as usual, wait for other people to finish the notes. But if you don't want to take a note or you finish that already, think about this part, okay, the final step, how you get this one, by this and this, okay? Any question? No. Oh, yeah. That is, you see, in the textbook, they use the bold letter, right? But I cannot use bold. Yeah. I cannot use bold here, so I can only use the tail. This tail. And the better thing of this one is if I put 1, it means a vector. If I put 2, it means a tensor. 2 or more, it means a tensor. Okay. And if we use the bold letter here, or bold font, we cannot distinguish it's a vector or it's a tensor, right? Yeah, so this is a better one. Nevertheless, it has a drawback. The drawback is sometimes I forget that, so maybe you can put that back yourself. If you realize it's a tensor, sometimes I just forget that. Okay. All right. And also, let me say something. Maybe you already feel that when you are undergrad student. But think about that. What will be the final points of the course? Usually it depends. Of course, it depends on the performance of the exam, but it also depends on the feeling of the whole class. Okay, so how to say that? Because see, the performance of the final exam is very important, but we have to admit that for different TA, for the same. Let's assume that we have the same answer. But we give this answer, the same answer sheets to different TA, you will get different points, right? of course, right? TA may feel some TA may give a lot of partial points, and some may just give a little partial points. So even we have exactly the same answer sheets for the whole class, and then we deliver to different TA, then we may get different points. In such a way that the instructor, which is me, may adjust a little in that way. And how to do that? It depends on the performance in class, right? If many people respond to the class and they answer the question, they ask the question, then I will have impression that you guys are all involved in learning or devoted in learning, devoted to learning. And in that way, the average points of this year may be a little higher than previous year. Okay, so what I want to say is, if you feel someone answer the bonus question, you should feel happy about that, because when he answers the bonus question, of course he will get a bonus, but you will get some bonus. The average points of the whole class will increased, will be increased. Okay. So let's come back to here. And also, ask question is also a good way. Although you will not get a bonus question, bonus points, but that will slightly increase the average points of the whole class. And I believe that's happened to all the instructor. Okay, because we cannot judge all people just depend on the exam. As I said, that TA may have some bias. So we will judge that on the performance of class. Okay. Let's come back here. I shouldn't say we will judge that in also incorporate the performance in the class. Okay. Since the final exam should be the most important part. Okay, let's come back here. So we have this phi in this way, right? If we put phi here, and it's easy for the tau and low VV part, because tau is a second order tensor, just like our phi, and low VV also. So we easily write down the low VV and the tau. Just replace the phi with these two. Nevertheless, for this p and delta function, that causes a problem. Although we write in this way is correct, but it's kind of redundant. So we decided to write down the phi, the delta. Delta should be in this way, right? I don't know if you feel comfortable with this. If not, let's do it this way. If you write down a delta function, it should actually be similar to this one, right? So you actually have this position delta SS, delta YS, delta ZS, right? And second, this position is delta SY and so on. Okay. But you know that the delta function is 1 if two indexes are the same, right? And it's 0 if two indexes are not the same. So you can easily write down the delta function as 1 because two indexes are the same. 0, not the same. 0, not the same. 0, not the same. And this is low YY, it should be 1, right? And this is low ZZ should be 1. And so for all other positions, it should be 0. Okay. Kind of easy, right? Is that okay? Okay. Hopefully. And after you write down the delta function, you want to do the operation with this operator. Okay. So you let this act on the p delta. And if you do it that way, you have this here, right? And do on the first row, what will you get? You will get. Can I erase this? Since you already have this one, right? So, what we want to do right now is this one, so I can erase this part. Okay. So if we do it this way, we actually get this, right? Let me write down. We get this. I just don't write that stupid things. I just write the answer. That should be fine. I don't know if you can catch this. You actually get this one. Sorry. Originally, I want to write down the whole thing. It should be. Okay. I write down the whole thing. That would be a better way to understand what happened. So if you apply that, you actually will get this one. And actually, that one is equal to this one, so it should be this one. Hopefully you get the same answer. So if in the time I wait for all the people to finish your notes, think about that. See if you have question and ask, or I don't know. It's very similar to what we do for the previous one, right? We do for this one. At that time we have del dot phi, right? So we have divergent phi, and that gives us the first row should be the summation of 3 terms, and now the same thing happened. I always want to persuade our students to study abroad. And it is because if you study abroad, it's not only you can learn something more, not more. You can also learn those things here, but it's an opportunity. You can come. You can get familiar with other culture, and that's very interesting. So I always share some funny experience in the class. I don't know how many of you ever watch the what's that name? The name should be the Breaking Bad. 绝命毒师. Yeah. So some of you know that, right? The Breaking Bad. And I know that when I was a grad student in Purdue, and I feel that's kind of make-up story. It's not real. Of course, it looks like it's so fake. Okay, it just looks fake to me. And then I have chance to be a postdoc in University of Minnesota. And a funny thing happened. When I become a postdoc in University of Minnesota, I encountered two things. The first thing is we need to lock the lab every day, every time. Always lock the lab. If you don't lock the lab, someone will come into your lab, and then they will take the centrifuge. And then people probably will have the same question: why they take a centrifuge? They can take other devices much expensive than centrifuge. We have so many devices that are so expensive, like quantity PCR. That kind of device is at least 1 million TWD. A centrifuge only was about probably less than 100,000 TWD, right? So why they always take a centrifuge? And after a while, I realized that because they want to make drug. Just like Breaking Bad, they want to make drug at home. And then the second thing is even funnier. So I have a lab mate. He's from Germany, and there's not much criminal in Germany. So the German people usually feel the world is so good. And then they go to US, they don't care about the area. So usually if we go to the US, we know some area, they are full of criminals. So we don't go to those areas. But German, they probably don't care about that. So he lives in an area that are full of criminals. And one of his roommates is a drug dealer. Okay, so he asked his roommate, "Where you get a drug?" And then his roommate tell him, "What? Why you ask this question? You are a student in University of Minnesota." So yeah, I'm a student in University of Minnesota. Then you should know that the student give me drug. The people major in chemistry, they make drugs and then they sell to me. I was so shocked to hear that information. So before that, we always go to California to get a drug, but nowadays we can get a drug directly from a student. So the Breaking Bad is kind of true at that time. I have to say that at that time. It has his historical background, okay? I kind of believe nowadays it's not true, because nowadays a drug has been supplied by some manufacturer, so it's not from the university anymore. But that's real funny. It's a very interesting experience that you see the breaking through in real life. Breaking Bad in real life. Okay. Anyway, let's come back here. So we try to get this one, right? So the easy way is we use this del, and then we use this del to dot this one, and that will give us this, right? This and this. And since we don't care about the zero, we get this one. And that should be the gradient P. Kind of interesting, right? Get a gradient P. If you feel to do all those things, is very time consuming and not that pressure, then you are enrolled in the right class because we can easily deal with this problem with index notation. Okay, so in probably near the end of this class, I will show you how to deal with all those things with simple 1 or 2 equations with the help of the index notation. Okay, so any question about the equation of motion? No question. All right. Now let's say something about this equation. Probably not many of you are familiar with this equation because you are familiar with the Navier-Stokes equation. And how to get a Navier-Stokes equation is we put a tau into here, and then we get a Navier-Stokes equation. And of course, in between you may need the equation of continuity. But anyway, we will do that once we have the ability, once we know how to use the index notation. So we don't have to write all those tensor things out. We can just use the index notation to easily calculate this thing and get a Navier-Stokes equation. All right? Okay. All right. Now let's come back to our short bands. If you don't have any other question. All right. So this is a topical question in fluid mechanics. Many people know this question that it pump in the fluid here, and then water level will come out, and then the water will flow down through this ramp. Okay. Nevertheless, I have to say that this example is kind of ideal situation because I want to get this example somewhere on the YouTube to see if there is a real experiment to demonstrate this example. But I didn't see it. Okay, I didn't see it. If you have chance to get one, let me know, okay? So I can put that in the class. And of course, you will get a bonus points. And also, this thing, it actually has its background, okay? It's not come from nowhere. It has a background. We all know that this textbook is written by the Bird, right? Bird. And Bird is a faculty in University of Washington. And nowadays, if you go to University of Washington, you will not be able to see this. But before that, you can see about 10 years ago, probably 12 years ago. If you go to the University of Washington, you will see this kind of water fountain. So it has a water fountain here. Water will come out. Water. Fountain. Spring, okay. Let me write spring here. Spring, yeah. So the water fountain, water come out here, and it has a step, so water will go down and go down and go down. All right. Just in the University of Washington. And I kind of believe that because of that, so Bird have this example, okay. And of course, kind of things is much difficult to do the balance. So Bird decided to make it a ramp and then do a balance. Okay. So if we want to do a balance here, it is of course we can choose the S direction and the Y direction, and then do a balance on both S and Y direction. Okay. But if we take a closed loop at this example, we realize that it's not a good way that we make S direction here and Y direction here. But But instead, if we can make S direction along with this ramp, then we actually reduce 2 dimension to 1 dimension, right? If we make a S direction here, Y direction here, then this flow is a 2-dimension flow, right? Because you need to specify the direction of the flow with both S and Y direction. It's not 2-dimension flow; it's 1-dimension flow, but you need to specify the flow in 2 dimensions. So the better way is you choose S direction along with this. Then the flow can be easily specified with only 1 dimension. Okay, so that's what the author did. So you choose only along with this one. And what's this one? This is control volume he chose. And this control volume, you can think about he just try to get 1 block in here. Okay, just get a little block in here. Okay. Hopefully you feel the same thing as I feel. All right. Now he assigned the S direction. No. He assigned the S direction in this way. And Z direction. Z is here, right? Z. So Z direction in this way. Okay, let me write it down. Probably we should have a break. Let's have a break, okay? And we'll come back after 10 minutes. we should continue our course. So what I try to do is now try to write down the S and Z in this figure. So you actually, the order actually choose, that's so difficult. Let me try to write it down. The order try to write this as X. Gosh, I cannot write out S. And this direction as Z. Okay? Okay. So know that, or probably I should write here, okay? Probably I should write here. So this is the X. Yeah. This is Z direction. Okay. And know that if you define it in this way, you should know that when X is 0, it means it's on the plate, right? Because X is from here and go up. So if X is 0, it means the fluid is on the bottom in contact with the plate, right? Okay. And the control volume, the idea of taking control volume is something in your domain. So the domain means you have the fluid in this way, right? So control volume is something probably like this one, a very small in the domain. All right. So think about it. You just take a part of that, part of this, like this one, like what I marked here. You just take that, and then you try to do a balance on it. And because you did not specify the S and Z, so it can apply to the whole domain. All right. So control volume is you take a small part inside the domain, and because the S and the Z and all those variables are not specified, or I can say it can be a arbitrary value, right? As long as it's inside this domain. So what you get from your balance can apply to the whole domain, and then you get the equation. Okay. So that's what he did. So control volume is sorry. So X is in the other direction. So he take the X and X plus delta S. I'm sorry about that. S is in the other direction. Kind of funny now. So S is actually in this direction, perpendicular to the plate. S is in the other direction, perpendicular to a plate. X. I don't want to spend too much time on these funny things. Okay, so S is in the other direction. It's from here to how about just write a little bigger? Okay, X. That works. That's good. All right. But Z is in a direction along with the flow. S is in this direction. If we take a close look here, it's S and then S plus delta S, right? So S is in the opposite direction. And if S is in this direction, then S equal to 0 means it is the fluid is contact with air. Okay? The fluid contact with air when X equal to 0. All right. And then It has z in this direction, s in this, and y is in the direction hit this direction, In this example, the author assume that this direction, which is perpendicular to this screen, this direction, is infinite. Okay, it means you don't care about the edge effect in this direction. So that's why he put a y here, but no, I cannot say that's why because I haven't do a balance. But you put a y here, but you assume that in this y direction it extend to infinity. Okay, so no edge effect. Because we assigned the x and z in this way, so we actually need to deal with the gravity. The gravity is it's go down, right? So it has an angle between the gravity and the z direction, okay? And the angle is beta. Okay, once we have all those information, then we can try to do a balance. First thing is what kind of balance we need. So what kind of phi we need, or I should say which phi we need. Okay. The idea is we know the fluid is flow in z direction, right? Flow in z direction. Over here is flow in z direction. Okay. And just as you can see here, okay, z direction. And if you assume that this is laminar flow, which means that if the flow is in z direction, okay, you should not have the vertex, and in that thing, in such a way, you don't have flow in x direction or in y direction because you don't have turbulent. So laminar flow, you only flow in z direction. And if that's the case, your shear stress and your when you do a balance, you find that the shear stress and rho VV, those two terms will always have only the z direction, right? The force in z direction. So you only need to deal with the phi with the force in z direction, right? So that's why we have the phi yz, phi xz, and phi zz. We only do a balance for force in z direction. And that's why I say the shear balance is easier than the equation of motion, because the equation of motion you do a balance on xyz direction. And here you only do in one direction, okay? So you only need this 3 phi and gravity, and you should be able to get a shear balance. And one thing better is you don't have this term, the accumulation term. Because in equation of motion, you're dealing with the fluid, it's not a static flow. But here, the shear balance assumes the static flow. So in chapter 2, in BSL, for all shear balance, it assumes static flow. So you don't have this term. Kind of easy, right? You only have the rest. Okay, now let's do the shear balance. So let's try to make the force balance for this system. All right. And before we do that, we can do a further examination, okay? Since we assume that the y is go to infinity, right? We say the phi y direction, it does not have an edge effect, it actually go to infinity. If that's the case, let's think about that something, okay? We are dealing with the static flow, and if I go in and if I go out, if phi go in is different from phi go out, no matter it's increase or it's decrease, you will always have some certain point that it go to infinity, right? If it's increased, then somewhere the 5yz will become infinity. Or if it's decreased, and somewhere here, the 5yz will become infinity. So that should not be the case. So the assumption that the y can go to infinity also give us from mathematics, we actually don't need to care about phi yz here, okay? For the y direction, there's no force increase or decrease, so we don't care about that. And if that's the case, we only have this phi z and only this phi zz. Okay, now let's do the base. Right. Cleaning this Bible, I get one funny story in my mind, so I want to share that funny story with you guys. It's a real story. You guys know that we have Professor Liao as the leader in the academic silica, right? The 中研院. Professor Liao is before he come back to academic silica, he is a professor in U.S., right? One faculty in Jiao Tong University is his student, and I prefer not to say his name, okay? And then one day he told me that Professor Liao is kind of he's not used the word interest. He's used the word of terrified. He's terrified by the Professor Liao when he was terrified by the Professor Liao when he was a grad student in his group, okay? And then he told me the story. The story is in this way. At the first time he presented in the group meeting, and Professor Liao told him, you are not suitable for this group, please leave. It's kind of shock information, because in US, if the advisor asks you to leave, you have to find a group probably in 1 month, otherwise you will not have any stipends. And nearly no one can cover that unless you are really, really rich. Otherwise, you always need a stipends. And finally, of course, my friends, now is a professor in Jiao Tong University, does not leave the did not leave the group, but he said Professor Liao is a guy that a real strict guy. If you don't do well, he'll just let you go. So anyway, I'm just trying to let you know if you want to study abroad. This may be the situation in U.S. That's true. That's true. I encounter many. I have many friends encounter this situation, and some are real good, but their advisor don't like them, so ask them to leave. But finally, they all get a degree. So if you study abroad in U.S. and you encounter similar situation, don't be frustrated. Okay, you will overcome that and get a degree. Anyway, let's come back to this balance. will still wait for all the pupil function nodes. And also, during the time we wait for pupil function nodes, you may think about something. For example, why in the equation of motion you have delta x, delta y, delta z, but here you only have delta x, and you don't use delta y and delta z, instead you use L and W. Okay, this is the first question. And the second question is, so you here and become here. The second question is, in this process, is it okay that you divide not just delta x, but you also do something in the x or something? Like, probably let's leave this question for next example. So if we don't care about that, then the second question should be this one. You can think about that, the side in this equation. Okay, take care of that. See if that's the same as this one, all right? So first thing is think about that, why we only have delta x, we don't have delta y, delta z. And second is take a close look at the side of this equation and make sure that it's the same as that one. And if you still have time, think about how to simplify this difficult part of the phi z, right? So let me wait for all the people to finish. So I find that you guys get used to the class, the time of this class. And also, me too. So in the previous 2 weeks, I feel so difficult to concentrate because I wake up at about 6 o'clock. And I usually don't wake up that early, but today I feel kind of easy to concentrate. And I feel also you guys in the same way. Now you are, I think you get used to the first class, okay, so, or I should say you get used to the class start at 8 o'clock. That's a good thing. It's a very good thing. All right, and let's come back here. So first thing is, first question is why we only have delta x and we don't have the delta y and delta z. It is because we only care about the difference happened in x direction. All right. If you only care about the difference happened in x direction, so you have the delta x only. Because if you do it that way, if you assign the delta x, then finally you will get differentiation or derivative with respect to delta x here. And then you will get a function of x. Okay? So if you care about things in the x direction, then you will put delta x there. And if you also care about the things in z direction, you should put a z, delta z here. Okay. So if at the very beginning you are not sure what direction you need to pay attention to, because it is possible. It's possible. I know you when you read the textbook, everything looks so straightforward. Yeah, we know it's only in this direction. But when you deal with some unknown question, you don't know. You don't really know. It depends only on x. No, of course not. Right? For other question, it may depend on y, depend on z. So in that way, you may write delta x, delta y, delta z, all of them, or you at least you write down the variable for the direction you are not 100% sure. It will not influence the results. Okay? So for example, for this case, you know the y should not be the case. Y should not be a problem because we already assume that y is go to infinity, and we know the input of y, the phi yz should be the output of phi yz, so you don't care about y. Nevertheless, if you are not sure, 100% sure, the phi zz will be the same as this phi zz, and the balance will somehow depend on the z. The outcome will somehow depend on the z. In that case, you should not put the z as 0 to L. Okay, no, don't do it that way. You should put the delta z here, and then you do a balance. And after you do a balance, if that does not influence the system, then you will go away. Okay, so the idea to put a delta s here is because the author already know that only x direction make difference. Right. Second thing is I kind of believe you already checked the sign of this one, but if you still have a question, let me know. Okay, after I go through all of that. So we do the force balance in z direction, and it doesn't matter you put L there or you put delta z there. Okay, it's okay. If it will go out, it will go out. So you put L there, LW, and then you write phi xz. As you can see, the phi xz here, phi xz. So you actually have L, phi xz, W here, right? W. Okay. And then you try to do a balance also to phi zz. Phi zz is this one. So the surface is this surface. I know it's here, but I cannot see there, so I point here. And that should be delta x multiplied by W, right? So delta x multiplied by W. And you have this one. And I deliberately to write that we divide by delta x, and that delta x approaches 0. And then we divide the whole equation by other parameters. Okay, so this process by other parameters is not that important because even you don't do that, it's fine. But the first process, you divide by delta x, and that delta x approach 0 is necessary to get a final equation. So write this here. And if you don't assign L, but you assign delta z also, that's fine. You can just put that there. And if you put the delta z here, of course, here you will get a low phi, a low z, low z. Okay, that should be okay. But at this stage, the author try to do some analysis on this one. Okay, on this one. And also, realize that your 5ZZ can be written this way. Let me write down the 5ZZ. So I will erase this part and write down 5ZZ and try to do some analysis on 5ZZ, okay? So for this one, we can say that also assume this condition. So then, and then we get some results. The assumption of this, the assumption of this postulates is kind of reasonable, okay? And similarly, I will wait for people finish notes. But you can think about this assumption if it's a laminar flow and flow in this way. It's kind of reasonable to have this assumption, okay? So we don't. We don't have to worry about phi ZZ, okay? All right. Let me wait for all the people finish your notes, okay? I don't know, in this semester is so. Everything is so strange. We have a lot of meetings every week from the beginning of this semester till now. So, kind of, I don't know. A lot of information and a lot of meetings in the department and also in school. This semester is crazy, actually. And sometimes several meetings they use the same time. For example, next week in our department we have the meeting for the faculties to discuss the outstanding students that we will suggest to a school. And doing exactly the same time, I also need to take care about a student the undergrad student who do. You know, the undergrad student, they do research, right? So the department will hold a meeting for them to present their research, and so also involved in that. And the school also arranged the other meetings in the same time. It's kind of crazy, actually. Anyway, let's come back here. Any question about that? No, I haven't explained that. I should explain it. Sorry about that. So here we have the phi ZZ in this way. Phi ZZ is okay. Everyone knows phi ZZ in this way. Okay, I'm not worried about that. You know that. Probably some people they cannot understand why this one become this. That's actually simply come from the appendix. Okay. Appendix. Come on, appendix. Yeah, here. Simply come from the appendix here. Tau ZZ should equal to minus mu 2 rho ZBZ rho Z. And this term will fade out for the compressible fluid, incompressible flow. Okay. So for incompressible flow, you don't have this, and you have this. So it's simply come from there. Okay. After that, you take a look at the assumption of the order, and you find out order basically assume that the VZ is only a function of X. This assumption is kind of okay. So let's come back to the example and think about that. See, if you flow in this direction, and you don't have any flow in the Y and the X direction, and for incompressible flow, you flow in, you should flow out, right? You should flow out. And if that's the case, your VZ should not change along with the Z. Okay. So your VZ, and definitely your VZ will not be a function of Y as we mentioned. If that's the case, you will go to some phi will go to infinity. So that cannot be the case. So that sounds reasonable to have this. Okay. And once you have this, you realize low VZ, low Z should equal to 0, right? Since VZ is only a function of S. And if that's the function of S, and this go to 0, and this term will go to 0, right? So your tau Z is 0. Oh, that's good. But even low VZ, and P is not 0, okay? Nevertheless, you realize one thing. Your low VZ does not change along with Z. So when Z is 0 or Z is L, at least two terms are the same. Okay. Similarly, you also realize that P has the same situation because they were exposed to the same atmosphere. The pressure here and the pressure here. Okay, I know there should be a little difference, but that's negligible. Okay, so also does not have this term, and so this term should equal to this one. If this and this hold, okay, and this one goes to 0, this 2 does not change with Z, you realize that this term should be 0, right? Because all the terms in this are the same as the terms in this. So the minus that go to 0. So this go to 0. And that's what I say at the beginning. If you are sure about that, you should assign the delta Z instead of Z equal to 0 here. You assign delta Z here. And if you assign delta Z here, you will get here you will get actually the partial Z. Okay. But it is 0, as you see here. I will cancel out that, and then you realize that the whole equation does not depend on the Z direction. Okay, but only the X direction. All right. So this term just go out. So now you only have this and this one. All right. So next, what we should do? We should put the from the appendix. We should replace this phi Z similarly to this one, and we will get a velocity and all the things there. And then we try to get a velocity profile by doing this. Okay. Now let's try to do that. Any question about this? Any question? No question. Okay, good. end at this equation, okay? Although usually I will wait for everyone finish that, but I only have 1 minute, so let me finish it, okay? If you want to take notes, you can take that after I finish it. So we get this, as we said before, somewhere here. And then we realize that this phi xz should equal to tau xz plus rho vxbz because that delta function should go to 0. You don't have the pressure terms, okay? Here. And then we also know that from the assumption of the author, Vx is 0 because it's a laminar flow, so you don't have flow in the x direction. If Vx is 0, this term should go to 0. Then we finally get the tau xz. So you put a tau xz here and get this equation. Okay, so see you next week. you.